What if failure had no negative connotations attached to it? What would you do differently? How would that change your life? I'm going to share with you a process to use failure to create positive impact in your life. Look at any successful entertainer, entrepreneur, or athlete. They'll tell you their story is littered with failure. My own story, time and time again, leads me to failure. Yet somehow, they all make it back to success. Somehow, I made it to this stage. Why does that happen? Are they just more talented than everybody else? Some, but not all. Are they luckier than everybody else? Definitely not. I can tell you that luck does not sustain success. So how do you get great at failing? A process. A process that develops the three most important characteristics to dealing with failure: courage, confidence, and resilience. At 26 years old, I became the youngest coordinator in major Division I college football. For context, there's 119 teams in the country. I earned the spot at one of them. For the previous 8 years, I had sacrificed and worked tirelessly to earn my way into the business of college football. And when I got granted just about the biggest opportunity I could get, I excelled. We finished in the top 20 statistically, and although I felt like I was barely keeping my head above water, I was proud of the work my teams put together. And in my mind, I thought I had put myself in position to become the youngest head coach in all of football. We get a week off at the end of the season. I come home to South Florida for some time on the beach to relax and reflect. So I'm on the beach with a tequila, enjoying myself, and I realize I have a missed call from the head coach. I can tell you that nothing good happens when the head coach calls you on vacation. So I call him back. The conversation was short. I was fired. And I was shattered. Cue step one of the process, the 24-hour rule. I learned it in football, and we live by it in our house. When failure happens, you have 24 hours to deal with it. Failing sucks, and we're not robots. So you have 24 hours to deal with that emotion, and then it's time to move on. We can't ignore that failing hurts, but we can't allow that hurt to affect our judgment of the next step or keep us from moving on. Step two, own it. Take responsibility for what's happened. Athletes go back and watch the tape. They look for what went wrong. In this instance, it meant that I had to call the head coach and ask why I was fired. It was worse than I expected. Oh no, Noodle, you did a great job. This is just part of the business. What? What am I supposed to do with that? How am I supposed to explain to somebody that I was fired, but it wasn't my fault? But see, it doesn't matter if failure is our fault. It's our responsibility. Because without taking responsibility for it, we point the finger. We play the blame game. We make excuses. And while we're doing that, we blind ourselves to the lessons and the opportunities for growth that are right in front of us. And without those opportunities, we can't move on to step 3, which is correct it. This one took me a while. You see, the rule is to build a strategy to avoid making the same mistake again. Because if we want to be successful, we're going to have to try again. But if we try again without correcting it or building a plan to avoid it, we are guaranteed to fail the exact same way and never get off that merry-go-round. Fast forward 3 years, 4 schools. Scratch that, reverse it. 4 years, 3 schools. And I was fired again for what I decided was going to be the last time in my career. It was time for me to get off the merry-go-round. This was an inflection point in my life. It was time for me to go in a different direction, one that would allow me to continue to bet on myself, but not allow anybody else to dictate my value or whether or not I was disposable. Could I walk away from my dream and the identity I had built for myself as a football coach? Could I move my life in a completely different direction? Could I handle starting over? How would I deal with the fear that accompanies that kind of change? 3 characteristics built through the process: courage, confidence, resilience. It wasn't that I was sure it would work, that I'd be successful. I just wasn't afraid to try. And that's step 4. Try again. Because if we feel it, we own it, we correct it, and we try again, guess what? You're going to fail again. This time for something totally different. But the more we fail, the more we learn. The more we build the confidence to believe in ourselves when there's really not much reason to. The more we build the muscle we call courage to overcome the fear of trying and failing. The more we build resilience to keep going, to have the stamina to take more chances. I took a chance at starting over. And in reality, everything we want and everything we desire is on the other side of a chance. If we think about it, we know that success takes courage, confidence, and resilience. Yet we forget that those characteristics are built through failure. And muscles aren't built with 1 rep. Michael Jordan has a saying, a quote, "I failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." So instead of fearing failure, we should seek it out. We should allow it to be the catalyst for our growth. And when faced with failure, go back to the process. Feel it for 24 hours. Own it. Take responsibility. Correct it. And try again. Because if you try again, it will lead you to your next success or failure. Because success is not a destination. It's a journey. And that journey is going to be marked by tons of failure. And that failure is going to have an impact. You will either let that failure define you, or you will define that failure. You decide. Thank you.
you.